Howdy folks, I'm Darren and welcome to Cross Timbers Outside. Glad to have y'all with us today. Yes, we have a new fishing boat. This is a Old Town Discovery 119 solo canoe. I hear a lot of people refer to these small solo canoes as kayaks. It's not a kayak, it's a canoe. I hear them referred to as a hybrid canoe kayak. No, it's a canoe. A hybrid would be similar to what a native ultimate is. This is only a small canoe, a solo canoe, and a very worthy river canoe. What we're going to be doing with this boat, we're going to be river smallmouth fishing out of this boat. I've done a lot of river smallmouth fishing for years, a lot of fly fishing for smallmouth in rivers and in current. Years ago, out of a 16 or 18 foot cataract or a fly fishing raft and some one-man pontoon boats, things of that nature. The last year that I river smallmouth fished, about 5-6 years ago, I fished out of a Old Town Guide 119, very similar to this. Just a little bit different hull design, not much. But so I'm familiar with these boats, and I'm familiar with the maneuverability and handling them in some current. And I'm not talking running class 4 and 5 whitewater. I do fish moving river current, mountain rivers that have current, and some class 1s and 2s, and maybe even occasional 3 we go through. But the 4s and 5s, we portage around those. And I'm not into running whitewater. I'm into smallmouth bass fishing in rivers. And this platform is fantastic for river smallie fishing with some modifications. And that's what we're doing today. This is a new boat, and we're going to be getting into modifying this boat before we ever even take it to the water, because I have experience with a 119 and how to rig them. And I'm going to get into how I figured out how to rig a boat for the best fishing platform for me. Now bear in mind, all these modifications and everything I'm going to be doing to this boat is user preferences. Your mileage may vary very little or greatly. Just depends on what you like in a fishing boat or a fishing canoe. So we're going to get started. We've bought some things to modify this boat. We're going to be dropping our seat some. We're going to be installing an anchor system, things of that nature. I'm working on lowering the seat in my new Discovery 119. And why am I lowering the seat? Let's get into that. Back several years ago, I went on a fishing trip with a friend of mine on a moving river. Now we don't fish lakes, and now, you know, this boat's very capable, but we don't fish still water usually. We're fishing mountain rivers that have current and sometimes rapids. And I went on a fishing trip several years ago in a small prime smallmouth river with a lot of current in it with a friend of mine. And I had my Old Town 119 Guide, stock configuration. I had basically done nothing to it, just get in it and paddle it and go fishing. My friend had a Old Town Pack, which is very, very similar to the 119 Discovery or the Guide 119, which I don't think Old Town makes anymore, the Guide 119. Now they make one called the Sportsman. But anyway, we went on this fishing trip, and as you do when you go fishing with friends, especially good friends, at some point during the day you say, hey, can I paddle your canoe for about 10-15 minutes? You want to try different things. Now my friend had really gotten into modifying his canoe. He had set it up for fishing with a drag chain anchor system. He had lowered his seat. He had installed eyelets to run his drag anchor rope through. He had set it up really, really nice. He had put some eyelets, tie down points on his thwarts and things of that nature. Had it set up really, really nice. And I noticed when he would stop to fish, we would come up on a really good run and he would paddle over to an eddy somewhere that's not very swift and drop his drag chain and sit and fish. And then he would adjust his rope on his drag chain to where he was just barely moving along, where I was fighting current. Now you can paddle these solo canoes with a single blade canoe paddle, or these solo canoes, you can actually use a double-bladed kayak paddle. We switched out fishing for canoes for a little while, and I was not in his canoe but about 10 minutes, and I was shocked at the difference of how that canoe handled, how much more stable it was, how well that drag chain system worked. I was just shocked at the difference. My canoe felt 5 times tippier than his. And when we switched back canoes, he even said that. He said, wow, you need to lower your seat and do a few things to set your boat up for fishing. You'll be amazed. And I said, yeah, I can already tell yours is so much more stable than mine. If you're just paddling the river, lowering your seat's not that big of a deal. But when you're sitting in a boat and you're moving back and forth, leaning over to get a fish in, all sorts of different things, in current especially, that lower center of gravity will make these boats feel so much more stable that it's not even like you're in the same boat, at least in my opinion. A lot of this is my opinion. It's not fact, it's opinion, what I like. Your mileage may vary. Lowering the seat makes such a difference. So I brought my Old Town Guide 119 home, and man, after paddling his, I went to work on it. I rigged me up a drag chain anchor system like he had. I lowered my seat about 2 inches, and you would think, wow, 1 inch or 2 inches, that ain't gonna make that much of a difference. Oh, yes, it does. The difference is night and day, at least it was to me. He got hung up once, and I noticed him stand up in his canoe. There was no way I'd have stood up in mine. Now, he didn't stand to fish, but he spread his feet to where the boat makes the curve for the bottom, and got steady and stood up and got his lure loose. There was no way I could stand up in mine, not even for a moment, with probably out falling overboard. So I set into modifying mine, and I turned that guide into a fishing machine. Lowered the seat, put some spacers in there to make the seat comfortable and sturdy, lowered it down, put some longer bolts to get it down lower in the canoe, drop it about 2 inches, and to put my sit backer back on it, and rigged up a drag chain system, anchor system, and installed some a pull handle and different things. I'm going to be setting this 119 up the same way. I'm starting now to lower my seat. I went yesterday and bought to the hardware store and bought some bolts for the seat that attach to the gunnels that's about 2.5 times longer than the ones in the stock that it came with. And I'm going to be putting spacers on those to sturdy everything up. So let's get at it. So you can see right here where we've taken the stock bolts out, and I'm installing new, longer stainless steel machine threaded bolts in a 1024 thread, I believe is what they are. And I'm reusing the washers for the gunnel and all that stuff. And I'm dropping this seat about, let's see, how long am I dropping it from where it was? Almost 2 inches, about a okay, what we're going to do is install this without spacers where it's the appropriate height, and I'm going to get in there and sit down and see how it feels before I add the spacers in here for stability. Right there you can see the additional lowering, and where those bolts are exposed we're going to put spacers in there once we determine this is the right amount of lowering of the seat that we want. I'm simply going to reattach my sit backer. I think that's going to be good. I like it. Let's cut us some spacers. Our seat mod is done. I don't know if you can see the spacers. I'll zoom in there in a minute. Let's take a sit down. Oh yeah, much lower center of gravity. I'm just a couple inches off the floor, and it's plenty comfortable for fishing. Plenty of room to relax, with a lot lower center of gravity for fishing. This is great. Now it's time to move on to our anchor system, or our drag chain system. If you're in current and the current's pulling you so fast through an area and you want to slow down and fish it, depending on how much rope you let out and drag those chains, it'll slow you way down, so you can make time fishing and not having to be on your paddle constantly. It's a win-win. So we got to rig it up where we can control our anchor system from right here at the seat, and it's going to go directly off the back. I found out over years past, if you put your anchor to one side or the other off your stern, or the pointed end of your stern, and it goes off one side, it's going to make your canoe do like this in the current, sit and start swaying. If you got it going directly off the back in a straight line, most of the time you'll see it like this and move very little in the current, stopped. So that's our next project, is to get our drag chain system hooked up. We've bought a anchor pulley and some rope, and we've already made our drag chains, and I'll show you those when we attach them. So here's our spacers that we install with longer bolts. Right there, you can see the two right there and right there, the PVC spacers. And we put a piece of pipe insulation down at the bottom to keep that from rubbing the side of the canoe. We're getting to work on our anchor system, and here's what we have. You can see this is a anchor pulley for a boat, and we're going to, most of these are mounted this way when you're talking about on like a bass boat or a V-hull, a big boat. But for this canoe, we're going to be mounting it this way, right off the tail end of our canoe, just like this. Okay, we're going to be mounting it to this plastic part, polymer or whatever this is, where the grab handle is. We're going to have to drill 2 holes in this right here, and we do not want only this plastic holding this on. So we have cut a V-shaped piece of metal. This is off of a hinge, and the holes line up, and this will fit. You can see it's V'd or tapered to fit right up under here, to be a plate underneath to bolt this down and sandwich this metal between these. All right, we're going to start drilling. We're going to line this up exactly where we want it. We're going to drill 2 holes and get this mounted. That way, our anchor rope is coming directly off the back of this boat. this canoe. It's not off to one side or the other. And it will hang out just a little ways off the back so it ain't just continually banging in to the stern of the boat. For now, the canoe mods are done. We've put us some eyelets right up here. Paddling, they're specific for kayaks or canoes. Some eyelets to strap fishing rods down when going through rapids. Some straps to strap other stuff to. We've got our pull handle. We've got some like our fishing nippers and stuff. Our seat's been lowered. Our rope cleat has been installed next to the seat. Our anchor system, drag chain is installed. We're ready to go fishing. I'll bring you in a little closer to see these mods, but the next time you see this Old Town Discovery 119 on the channel, hopefully we'll be in the river and catching some smallmouth. It's April and the fishing should be picking up really good. And you may be wondering, why ain't you crappie fishing? I've got the urge to go smallmouth fishing, something terrible. There is nothing that fights better than a smallmouth bass that has lived its life in current. Those fish muscle up and they are powerhouses. They are so fun to catch and to fish for, especially in these mountain rivers. We have some of the most scenic rivers you ever been on anywhere, and they're just beautiful. And there's no better way to experience them in the solitude and peacefulness floating down a river in a good canoe. So I think we've got everything outfitted. The next thing will be to get it on the water. We are going to be using a 260 cm length double paddle, a kayak paddle. This is a canoe, but a solo canoe lends itself very well to use with a kayak paddle. You need a longer paddle to go over these higher gunnels. Starting here at the very front, all we have is a rope tied to the handle with a simple pull handle. Just like you get off any old lawnmower, you can pick these up at any small engine store. Tie your handle on. Really good for when you have to drag across beaver dams or shallow areas or sandbars. Next, on our front thwart, we installed 2 eyelets right there. 2 strap rods down to, whatever we want to strap there. Next, our seat has been lowered and we have installed a rope cleat, and you can see our spacers where we lowered the seat. A rope cleat right there, right next to the seat. And we come on back, the rope goes under the back thwart. We've installed 2 eyelets on the back thwart to strap down a cooler or fishing gear, whatever we want. Okay, the rope keeps going. Our anchor rope goes through an eyelet right there, and then right up to our pulley, anchor pulley system, coming square off the back, and our drag chain for an anchor. Thanks for being with me as we outfitted and modded out our Old Town Discovery 119 solo canoe. Next time you see this boat, hopefully it's going to be on the river with a bent rod and a big smallmouth bass on the other end. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. I pray God blesses you and your family, and we pray y'all have a fantastic day. Get outside.